and then our bodies lack the ability to really digest and be efficient with breaking down nutrition. So we need to start thinking about, okay, am I eating for nutrition? And I'll give you, in a minute, I'll get to some healthy things to eat and what to think about. It can be quite simple. So there are other ways that we can, if you need that energy boost, there are other ways to do it. It doesn't have to be from caffeine or sugar, or food for that matter. We have more powerful hormones that make us alert, and one of them is adrenaline. So if you did something that caused a stress, a positive stress, which is hormesis, is a positive stress for the body. If you did something that stimulates that, you're going to get far more alert. You could hop in an ice tub if you have access to one, or even just take a cold shower. Or if that's not appropriate, put your wrists, hands and wrists in a bowl of ice water. And that will start to make you alert, because the body detects, oh, I might be in a dangerous situation, so I need to get out of it. So it sends this powerful hormone to get you out of it. So I can actually stimulate better. Also, if we do things that scare us a little bit, like can jump off a height, walk across a wall that makes me feel alert, or climb up something, that will also stimulate me, because my body feels like, oh, I have to be alert because I'm in potential danger. You don't actually have to be in danger. You just have to make the body think it is, so you do something different. My favorite way to stimulate yourself without food is a random act of kindness. We have a fundamental fear of being kicked out the tribe. So we're very cautious of how we relate to other humans. So it's scary sometimes to go up to someone, and a stranger, and do something nice for them. But if we do, what that does, it produces, first of all, will produce adrenaline, the nervousness. But then once we do the act of kindness, it produces another hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin stimulates our brain and our body and makes us feel good. The studies show that the person receiving the act of kindness has the same amount of oxytocin release as the person giving it. So we both equally get a release of oxytocin. What's also interesting is that anyone watching that act of kindness also gets a pump of oxytocin and feels good. So you're not only making each other feel good, you're actually affecting the way everyone around you works. And that does a lot more for stimulating you than it does if you just go and open a packet of some shelf-stable food that's been in a bag for many, many months. So try that, because it's really, really effective. So, nutrition. You might have heard of some intermittent fasting, which is just eating at a short window in the day. If you do that, it allows the body to go through this digestive process, and this process called apoptosis, where the body purges the deformant or old cells. So when I eat, I try and have a very short window. You don't have to do this, but I do it within about an hour to 2 hours a day, so maybe 3 to 5 p.m. or 4 to 5 p.m. And I try and eat with enough time to digest before I go to sleep, because the brain actually has to do a lot of clearing process when it sleeps. So the brain's actually more active when you're asleep than when you're awake. And so it needs to have done its digestion, so then it can focus on that clearing process, so you can wake up rested, and then you don't need extra stimulation from outside energy drinks and food. Intermittent fasting or straight fasting. If you haven't tried it, fasting is great. It actually makes your brain more alert. When our body has utilized all the triglycerides, all the sugars in the bodies have broken down, and sometimes it takes 24 hours or even more depending on the food for it to clear your system and to clear your blood. So you use that energy, the triglycerides in your blood first, before it goes to stored energy. And so you have a couple of days, or a day at least, where you're going through that and you don't need food. So when you're fasting, that happens. But then your body, after you practice, becomes efficient at converting fat into usable energy. So it breaks it into ketones. So you might have heard a ketogenic diet, and your body's in ketosis. It just means the body's using fat. And it's really good to get efficient at that, because we're so great at storing energy on our bodies because we come from scarcity. I'm wearing probably 150 meals on my body. So things that I've eaten in the past, I'm stored them on my body for later consumption. But I don't think about that. I just go daily because I have access to it. I don't need to tap into this. It's good to go through your fat source because other things get bacteria or nutrients or things get stored in the fat. So you want to clear that out often. So you want to go through this process of cleansing. And we should really live on an annual cycle of where I build up fat and then I utilize it and then I store it again. So seasonally, that's how we should really live. Not quite the same as hibernating animals, but we should be a little more seasonal than we are. Anything that you can eat that was the closest to when it was alive. So it hasn't been losing life force for very long. If you think about what's happening, plants or animals that eat the plants are taking sun energy and it's being converted into this energy of life, and then we're consuming it and that's giving us our energy. So the closer to when it was alive, the more vibrant it is. So if I can get my vegetables that were grown locally, they'll have more nutrition for me. Anything dark, leafy greens, they're cruciferous vegetables, they're great for me. There's a lot of information out there about healthy nutrition. There's not really one particular way to eat. You want to eat a certain way for a period of time, let the body adapt it, and then you convert. And then you eat a different way and let the body adapt. You don't want your body to be so sensitive that it can't adapt. It's also okay to have celebratory food. I don't call it cheating when you have pizza or you have a drink. It's not cheating, it's celebrating. That food is for celebrating. We don't need to celebrate every day. You only need to celebrate every day if you're trying to escape from something dismal, which is an internal feeling which we produce, which we need to clear up, and then we don't need to load this other celebratory food in this. So if you do have celebratory food, that's fine. Enjoy it. Make it the best thing you've ever had and really, really enjoy it. And then take a break from it. Let the body recover and then celebrate again. So you've got to find out your balance between how much you celebrate to your goals. Because you don't want to over-celebrate and then end up with the body not functioning the way you want to function, or not having the ability or the look even of what you want. So you have to get all these things in order. And a lot of people don't talk about this when they're talking about nutrition, because they're talking about, hey, follow this plan and just stick with this brilliant nutritional plan and it's going to save you. It might be a great nutritional plan, but if you're layering it on top of a bad mechanism, or you don't understand the animal instinct that we're all coded with, if you understand, then you're just fighting and struggling. And most diets work anyway because it's a new menu of food. So it's a different way of eating. So you cut out a whole other slew of foods that you typically eat, and so you're just eating less calories. So get good at fasting and get comfortable with that. You'll be amazed at how well your body functions in a fasted state, and how alert you get, and how much time you have and money you save. So there's a lot of benefits to fasting. I want to open it up for some questions. I see some questions here, so I'm going to do that before I run out of time. I could talk about this forever. Some tools to get through the internal cravings. We talked a little bit about meditation a few days ago, and I still haven't been able to post them, but I will, so you can go back and do it. So it's really getting the system in place. So the system, my body out into alignment. So I'm not stressed or anxious. So I don't need those stimulants. That's the best thing to do when you have these cravings. But there are other things you can do. Drinking a lot of water. I drink soups, bone broth or vegetable broths help me. Sometimes if I do a broth fast. Exercise. The body doesn't do well, doesn't want to eat when it's exercising. So if you exercise, you're going to lose that hunger. Let me see some more questions here. The best food for quarantine. This is tough. If you can get fresh food, that's what you want to do. Now's the great time, because your schedules have changed, they're not all over the place, is to try some different eating patterns. You know, try eating one meal a day. Try fasting. Try eating vegan. Play with it, but give yourself enough time to adapt. You might not like it right away because you have to get familiar with the foods and you have to adapt to it. Ooh, that's a long one. I can't remember. It does your body get weaker, especially at late? Although I think... Why? I'm trying to do this question. Why does my body go through feeling of extreme weakness? Oh, the feeling of extreme weakness. It could be, if it's especially now, if it's changed, you could be experiencing a lot of stress. That's very taxing on the body. So you want to untangle that as well, and that will give you more energy. As I mentioned in my last talks, we're vibrating energy, where our atoms are actually little batteries. So we want to charge us up. Stress diminishes that. Also, nature balances us, so we might not be in nature as much as usual. That balances our ions and positive, negative ions, so we get into balance. So that stress might be that it might be the stress that you're feeling more tired. So make sure you're sleeping a lot. Sleeping really helps with having positive nutrition. There's not a lot of resources. Someone asked me the resources to go for this. There's not a lot of resources that talk about this aspect of it. I'm trying to put more out there, and I'll try and post more and get to it. But DM me with specific questions, and I'll start answering them and start posting them. Let me see. How long should you fast for? The first time. Fasting, the first time, I would do it for 24 hours. Just see if you can go from one meal this night all the way, skipping one night to the next one. So 24 hours. I think it's the best way to start. Also, what would you recommend for skinny fat people? I'm having a hard time gaining muscle. I lose weight easily though. So we're all a little bit different. My heritage comes from a heritage that's very efficient at storing fat. People who don't, they usually have a higher metabolism. And often again, it's because of this, they have a stress metabolism. Skinny fat's interesting. Someone was asking me here in one of these questions. It's still fat, no matter if you have the amount you have or if you have a little if you look like you have a little fat, because we store fat in different ways. There's white fat and brown fat. Brown fat stores around the chest and organs, and it's high mitochondrial, that's why it's brown, and it actually warms us up, it increases metabolism. But then there's subcutaneous fat, the fat we see, and then there's visceral fat in the organs. And it packs into any cavities we have in our body and into the organs themselves. So skinny fat people often have a lot of fat stored in them, which is important to go through that cycle. To build muscle, you have to load the muscle in certain ways. So you want to start off with loading the muscles with high reps. So you do things for a lot of reps, 20 plus reps, and it's time under stress. So you can do it for as much time as you can, and that'll build structure. But what builds muscle, which is the expansion of the muscle spindles, the fibers of the muscle, is about 10 to 15 reps. But it doesn't mean, it's not just the number. It means you have to have a weight that you can only do 10 to 15 reps. And that's all you can manage. And then you have to stop because the body can't do anymore. So you got to load it a lot. You do need protein and things like that for sure, but it's not quite dependent as we thought it was in the past. So if you're skinny fat, look at your balance of nutrition. Make sure you're not too high in carbohydrates.